Hey guys, welcome back. First of all, I'm really sorry. I've been kind of absent because July has been really crazy with taking a vacation. And then when we got back from vacation, I was just feeling so in a rut and a little bit overwhelmed. My kids start school next week, and I guess I just felt like I thought I had a lot more time, which I didn't. So I've been trying to get back on the bandwagon so I apologize that I've been gone for a little bit of time. One of my favorite ways to kind of just get back into the flow of making videos is doing a book haul, and I haven't done a book haul last month, and I've acquired quite a few things. All right, so I guess let's go ahead and start with the stack of books here that I just got today because they're on top. I had taken a bag of books to my buy-sell trade store. I got about $20 credit, and so I got 5 different books. The first one is A History of Wild Places by Shay Earnshaw. I have had my eye on this book for such a long time because I love Shay Earnshaw's other book, The Wicked Deep. That was the first book, I guess the only book I have ever read by Shay Earnshaw, but I love it so much. It has stuck with me through all these years. I want to read other things that she has written, so I've had my eye on this one for quite a long time. It's much different than Wicked Deep from what I gather. Travis Wren has an unusual talent for locating missing people. Hired by families as a last resort, he requires only a single object to find the person who has vanished. So it looks like we have a supernatural element here. When he takes on the case of Maggie St. James, a well-known author of dark, macabre, I can never say that word right, children's books, he's led to a place many believe to be only a legend. And the rest of this is quite a long, so I don't want to read the whole thing. With the first paragraph of that synopsis, that just sounds so good. The next one I got is called The Lonesome Dove. I didn't realize how thick this bad boy is. It is a Pulitzer Prize winner. I've been on a search for a Western book. There's a bunch of those old Westerns, which I picked up some of them. There's this one that's called Californios by Lewis. I don't know. He writes a ton of Westerns. And I will give it to him. Some of those books sounded really good. I almost picked up that one because it takes place in California during the gold rush. And I was like, well, if I'm going to go into a genre that's so foreign to me, maybe something that has some ties to something that's familiar to me is a really good place to start. And seeing as how I grew up in California, I was hoping that maybe it will have a lot of talk of the setting. But I ended up finding this one before I left, and so I picked this one up because this one pops on every single what to read if you're looking for a Western. And so I feel like incredibly popular, so you might as well start with the best to see if it's something that you would like. A love story, an adventure, and an epic frontier. Pulitzer Prize-winning classic, Lonesome Dove, the third book in the Lonesome Dove tetralogy. Are you kidding me? The grandest novel ever written about the last defiant wilderness of America. Journey to the dusty little Texas town of Lonesome Dove and meet an unforgettable assortment of heroes and outlaws, whores and ladies, Indians and settlers, richly authentic, beautifully written, always dramatic. It's a book to make you laugh, weep, dream, and remember. Oh, that's cool. I also lived in Texas, so anyways, is it truly the third? Do you have to read the whole series? Probably not. It's probably fine. I should make sure I do my research though. The next one is Bind Up, and I've actually already have read one. I own the second one, but I didn't have the other two. And I thought that maybe it's better to just have a Bind Up edition. And this book was $4. It was worth it to me, and that is The Den of Shadows Quartet. This has all 4 books in the series, and the first one is In the Forest of the Night, which is one that I recently read. Demon in My View, I have that one, and then the other 2 are Shattered Mirror and Midnight Predator. Maybe I'll consider getting rid of the 2 little mass market paperback ones that I own. We'll see. The next one is Tom Jones by Henry Felding. I've actually never heard anyone talking about this book on booktube at all. but I was drawn in by the modern library edition of this book. I love these editions of this book, and so I picked this up. I thought I would give this a try. So Tom, a foundling, is discovered one evening by benevolent Squire Allworthy and his sister Bridget, and brought up as a son in their household. When his sexual escapades and general misbehavior lead them to banish him, he sets out in search of both his fortune and his true identity. Amorous, high-spirited, and filled with what Fielding called the glorious lust of doing good, but with a tendency towards disillusion, Tom Jones is one of the first characters in English fiction whose human virtues and vices are realistically depicted. I mean, it doesn't give like a whole lot, but I feel like this is an incredibly deep character study on this character who maybe possesses like good and evil kind of tendencies. It could be terrible. I don't know. Wish me luck. And the next one is just a collected tales of Nikolai Gogol. Nikolai Gogol left his Ukrainian village in 1828 to seek his fortune in St. Petersburg. He began composing these marvelous tales that combined the wide-eyed, credulous imagination of the peasant with a sardonic criticism. So this has a collection of Ukrainian tales and St. Petersburg tales. So I thought that was incredibly interesting. All right, the next one is a book that I got while we were in California. We went to this incredibly unique bookstore, Verbatim Books. I took this little slip, grabbed this to keep in my book that I got. It's just a used bookstore. It looks so incredibly cool. It's so eclectic. And I could have spent a lot longer there, except my husband was shopping with me and he wasn't rushing me or anything, but I just feel that like pressure. Like I don't want to keep him there. I would totally have like sat down in one of their little chairs and like read or something, or just sat there and like looked at everything because it was just so cool looking. The book that I found was Maurice by E.M. Forster, and this has been a book that's been on my TBR for quite a while since I was getting into the dark academia books. This is about Maurice tells the story of a handsome, rather superior young man with a flair for business, a man who is deeply conventional, but for one element that puzzles him, torments him, and when finally admitted, saves him. Through Clive, whom he encounters at Cambridge, and through Alec, the gamekeeper of Clive's country estate, Maurice gradually experiences a profound emotional and sexual awakening. In June, I read Jurassic Park. So I did find the second in the series, The Lost World. Then I have this book, Kindred by Octavia E. Butler. This takes place in 1976. Dana dreams of being a writer. In 1815, she's assumed a slave. When Dana first meets Rufus on the Maryland plantation, he's drowning. She saves his life, and it will happen again and again. Neither of them understands his power to summon her whenever his life is threatened, nor the significance of the ties that bind them. And each time Dana saves him, the more aware she is that her own life might be over before it's even begun. Yeah, I don't really know much about this book, but I have seen people talking about this author a lot. Is he in the bag? What are you doing, Sora? What are you doing? God, what a goofball. The next one, this had to have been acquired last month, but that is The Night Gardener. It's getting really dark in here, so it's hard to see. And I believe this is like pretty young adult, middle grade, I think. But it says lots of creepiness, memorable characters, a worthy message, and touches of humor amid the horror make cautionary tale one readers will not soon forget. The Night Gardener follows two abandoned Irish siblings who travel to work as servants at a creepy, crumbling English manor house. But the house and its inhabitants are not quite what they seem. Soon the children are confronted by a mysterious stranger, and by an ancient curse that threatens their very lives, a mesmerizing read and testament to the magical power of storytelling. That's why I wanted this, because I love the setting of a house in books. That seemed really cool. All right, we'll save gifts for later. All right, I also found another book by Orhan Pamuk to add to my collection. This is called Istanbul Memories and the City, and this is actually his own story. about Turkey's greatest living novelist, guides us through the monuments and lost paradises, dilapidated Ottoman villas, back streets, and waterways of Istanbul, the city of his birth and the home of his imagination. And there's actually like lots of pictures and stuff. There's actually like pictures and stuff throughout this book as well. All right, this next book was just too cheap not to get it. I don't know. I've heard mixed feelings on this, and that is Wild is the Witch by Rachel Griffin. And I feel like maybe because expectations were set high to go into this with, lots of witch vibes, but I've heard that it's very slow pace, not a lot of witchy vibes as maybe we were expecting. But I decided to go ahead and add it to my collection because it still is in my brain. Like, I want to know. After Night of Magic turns deadly, Iris Grey vows to never let a person learn that she's a witch. It doesn't matter that the Witches' Council found her innocent or that the magic was once viewed as a marvel. That night on the lake changed everything. Now settled in Washington, Iris hides who she really is and vents her frustrations by writing curses she never intends to cast. And while she loves working at Wildlife Refuge, she runs with her mother. She loathes Pike Adler, the witch-hating, aspiring ornithologist who interns with them. Sounds really good. Maybe I have this one wrong. All right, the next one is Supernova by Marissa Meyer. This is the third in the series. I have read Renegades. I have yet to read Arch Nemesis, but I saw this, and as you can see, it was only $4 for this gorgeous hardback edition that matches my set. So I had to add it to the collection, but this is definitely a series maybe I should put higher up on the list to go ahead and read next year. All right, the next one is Salt to the Sea by Ruta Sepeti. I saw someone talking about this on BookTube a really long time ago, and the way they described it, it's always been on my mind, thinking if I see that, I'm probably going to pick it up because it just sounded really good. However, I believe it is a historical fiction, which is not my very strong sometimes a hit or miss for me, especially when it is surrounding the topic of war. However, this one seems to be a little bit more centrally focused into these specific people. So the back of it says, forgotten tragedy that was 6 times deadlier than the Titanic. Winter 1945, 4 refugees, 4 secrets. Each one born of a different homeland, each one hunted and haunted by tragedy, lies, war. As thousands desperately flock to the coast of the midst of a Soviet advance, 4 paths converge, vying for passage abroad. The Wilhelm Gustloff, I'm so sorry, a ship that promises safety and freedom, but not all promises can be kept. I do have one other book by this author called The Fountains of Silence. I have yet to read that one as well. Let's see. Vampire Weekend. It basically had me at vampire. However, have you listened to that band called Vampire Weekend? They're actually a pretty decent band. Anyways, I don't think this has anything to do with that band. Well, maybe it does. Vampire Weekend by Mike Chen. Being a vampire is far from glamorous, but it can be pretty punk rock. Everything you've heard about vampires is a lie. They can't fly, no murders allowed, the community hates that, and turning into a bat, completely ridiculous. In fact, vampire life is really just a lot of blood bags and night jobs for Louis Chow. It's also lonely since she swore off family ages ago. The next one is Red Shirts by John Scalzi. I've actually only recently heard of this author, that he's actually really funny. So I don't really know. I've never read anything by this author before, but there is a new book with like a cat face that keeps popping up, and I've recently added it to my TBR list, but then I saw this one and I was like, all right, let's give this a try too. Good God, who is fucking here? Oh my gosh. Sweetest, nicest bug man just came to the door. A door-to-door solicitor. Usually I get so mad and irritated. I hate answering to solicitors, but this man was actually incredibly... That is the worst job, to have to go door to door and sell things, but he kind of made me laugh. He's like, nobody likes people that come selling things to door, and he seemed like he was honest about the price that they charge and everything. But anyways, apparently I'm incredibly popular. Every time I hit play or record on the camera, everyone has to talk to me during that time. Okay, so where were we? Red Shirts by John Scalzi. This book is about, honestly, I don't want to translate what this book is supposed to be about. It is like, I do believe it's like science fiction, and it takes place in 2456. It's a science fiction novel. It takes place on this like spaceship, a starship, understanding of what the Starship Intrepid really is, and offers them a crazy high-risk chance to save their own lives. And it's also supposed to be incredibly funny. Patrick Rothfuss says, I can honestly say I can't think of another book that ever made me laugh this much ever. I love a good funny book. Okay, the next one is called Gifting Fire by Alina Boyden. This has royals. Oh, the Sultan of Nizam. Now who's texting me? Oh, it's a group text. Okay. In order to free herself and her province, she must call upon all of her training as royal princess, a cunning courtesan, and a daring thief to summon new allies and old friends for battle that will decide her fate and the fate of an empire. Does this not just feel like Throne of Glass vibes? But this may have been a little bit of a cover by. Like, look how gorgeous that is. And is that a dragon? That is, look at that. That is a dragon. So, just really interested. The Little Clan by Iris Martin Cohen. Ava Gallagher is a librarian in residence at the Lazarus Club, which is an ancient, dwindling Manhattan arts club full of eccentric elderly residents stuck in a long-gone era. 25-year-old Ava, however, feels right at home, quietly surrounded by her beloved books and sequestered away from her peers. That just sounds so good. There's a lot of different things going on in the synopsis of this book that seem like things I have recently talked about that I really enjoy in books. So, this is a contemporary romance. But as I said recently after reading Emily Henry, I'm a little bit more open-minded to trying romances. And that is The Shandy Setup by Lily Vale. A Second Chance at First Love. High school sweethearts, Rita and Milan, were a golden couple until the day he broke her heart. Now, 6 years later, Rita has turned her passion for furniture restoration into a career and has an almost perfect boyfriend, Neil. The last thing she needs is for Milan to waltz back into her life, and that's just what happens when her well-meaning mother tries to set them up. Only this time, Milan actually needs her business expertise, not her heart, to flip a hard-to-sell house for a realty agency. All right, this sounds so freaking good. I love when our characters have really cool, unique hobbies or professions. So that really fits. And I kind of love this like forced proximity in a way with they're going to be like working on this project together that kind of pushes them together. So they're going to resolve their issue. Oh my gosh, I'm actually really excited about this one. And I do love like second chance romance. Okay, the next one is City of Brass. I've seen this one on booktube a lot, and I don't think I've heard anyone say that it's not great. So, 18th century Cairo. Neri is a conwoman of unsurpassed skill. She makes her living swindling Ottoman nobles, hoping to one day earn enough to change her fortunes. But when she accidentally summons Dara, an equally sly, darkly mysterious jinn warrior, during one of her cons, she learns that even the cleverest of schemes can have deadly consequences. Forced to flee Cairo, Dara and Nahiri journey together across hot, windswept sands, teeming with creatures of fire and rivers, where the mythical myriads sleep. Anyways, Saba Tahir says, the best adult fantasy I've read since The Name of the Wind. It's stunning and complex and consuming and fantastic. Sounds just like the kind of fantasies that I want to read. Then we have The Ballerinas by Rachel. I don't want to mess up her name. And this is, ballerinas are like point shoes. You have to break them down before they're of any use. 13 years ago, Delphine abandoned her prestigious soloist spot at the Paris Opera Ballet for a new life in St. Petersburg. taking with her a secret that could upend the lives of her best friends, fellow dancers Lindsay and Margot. Now 36 years old, Delphine has returned to her former home and to the legendary Palais Opera House to choreograph the ballet that will kickstart the next phase of her career. And she hopes to finally make things right with her former friends, but Delphine quickly discovers that things have changed while she's been away, and some secrets can't stay buried forever. So there's that. It sounds so freaking good. I really have a thing about ballerinas, as far as like a profession, a skill, a way of life, honestly. I just find it so incredible, the work, the devotion that ballerinas have to dedicate their lives to be ballerinas, plus elite school. This is actually the second in a series, but this is a series I want to read. I found this for $1 at the dollar store, or $1.25 now at the dollar store. So I did go ahead and pick it up, and then one of these days I will find the first book called Realmbreaker. Look at the map. That is a gorgeous freaking map. Yeah, so I won't read the synopsis of this because being the second one, no spoilers. Okay, the next one is Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens, and I watched the movie of this and it broke me. I haven't cried that much in a movie in so long. It was so good. And I just love the themes going on, how she was just like left to her own devices in her family out in the wilderness, essentially, and just kind of fended for herself. And then she wasn't very well acclimated to socialization that ends up messing her up. But because she just is out there, a child of the wilderness, she's very fascinated with nature, and the nature comes in pretty strong here. And I thought that was such a cool thing, what she ends up doing with her skill of understanding nature and art and stuff, at least according to the movie. So I'm happy to read. I really do want to read the book to see how it stands against the movie. Usually books are better. So Shadow City by Francesca Flores. Against all odds, Aina, A-I-N-A, Solis, has fought her way to the top of the criminal ranks in the city of Kosin by wresting control of an assassin empire owned by her old boss, Cole. She never again has to fear losing her home and returning to life on the streets except Cole. The man who tried to ruin her life will do anything to get his empire back. Aina sets out to kill him before he can kill her. I'm kind of second guessing this one now, but I feel like this is one of those ones I found for $1. And I don't think I did as thorough of research on it. But we got assassins, and I do love a good assassin book. Although I hope it doesn't feel too much like Throne of Glass. Alright, the next one is Together by Luke Adam Hawker, and this book is actually like a graphic novel, but the illustrations are truly what got me on this book because I just love pen and ink art style. I could just flip through here and just stare at each detail and the lines and like which lines he decided to make incredibly, stick straight, and other ones he decided to make kind of squiggly lines, and oh my gosh, like just stunning artwork. I love pen and ink so much. So yeah, but I guess this is a story about this man and his dog in pen and ink, so that's why I picked it. The next one is Solace by Gail Carringer. I actually had like the third or fourth in the series so long ago, and I never could find the other books in the series, but this is like Victorian steampunk, but it also includes like vampires and werewolves and all those kinds of supernatural things. This has definitely been on my radar for such a long time, and I finally found the first in the series. This is it. Okay, so first, she has no soul. Second, she's a spinster whose father is both Italian and dead. Third, she was rudely attacked by a vampire, breaking all standards of social etiquette. Where to go from there? From bad to worse, apparently, for Alexia accidentally kills the vampire, and then the appalling Lord Macon, loud, messy, gorgeous, and werewolf, is sent by Queen Victoria to investigate. With unexpected vampires disappearing, everyone seems to believe that Alexia is responsible. Can she figure out what is actually happening to London's high society? Will her soulless ability to negate supernatural powers prove useful or just plain embarrassing? Finally, who is a real enemy, and do you have treacle tart? Yeah. Vampires, werewolves, sign me up. Oh yeah, I found these at a thrift store. That's right. That's where I found these. Cider House Rules by John Irving, filled with people to love and to feel for. The characters of John Irving's novel break all the rules, and yet they remain noble and free-spirited. Victims of tragedy, violence, and injustice, their lives seem more interesting and full of thought-provoking dilemmas than the lives of many real people. That's according to the Houston Post, and I am such a sucker for deep character studies, and I love tragedies. Go figure. All right, here's a fantasy book I don't know a whole lot about. This is an author I see a lot at used bookstores, and that is Terry Brooks, The Sword of Sahara. Basically, druids, warlocks. It's fantasy. It made its way home with me. And I also found Warrior of the Altai by Robert Jordan, an untold tale from the master of epic fantasy. This one is just, it's all by itself. It's not part of any series. And then I found these two books, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and then the other one, The Restaurant at the End of the Universe. This one I was incredibly excited and really shocked to find, and that is Kiki's Delivery Service. Flowers of Darkness by Tatiana de Rosnay. In a near future Paris, author Carissa Katzif is struggling to write her next book. She's just snagged a brand new artist residency in an ultra-modern apartment with a view, a dream for any novelist in search of tranquility. But since moving in, Clarissa has had the feeling of being watched. Is there reason to be paranoid, or is her distraction and discomfort the result of her husband's shocking recent betrayal? Or is it that her beloved Paris lies altered outside her windows, a city that will never be quite the same, a city with a terrible scar at its center? Stuck inside in the midst of sweltering heat wave, Clarissa enlists her beloved granddaughter in her investigation of the mysterious high-tech building, even as she finds herself drawn back into the orbit of her first husband, the one who knows her most intimately, who shares a past grief that she has never quite overcome. In Flowers of Darkness, de Rosny stays true to her favorite themes, the imprint of place, the weight of secrets, weaving an intrigue of thrilling suspense and emotional power. And I feel like usually, at first I almost put this book down because I don't really like books about writers. However, this got me with all the other things that it's about, and it's also really short. It was also $1. Both of these books, The Wrath of the Dawn and The Rose and the Dagger. So we have books 1 and 2 of this series. I don't even know what the series is about. I remember it made its rounds on YouTube and it sounded really good then. One Life to One Dawn. In a land ruled by a murderous boy king, each dawn brings heartache to a new family. Khalid, the 18-year-old caliph of... These names are incredibly difficult. I don't want to be stumbling over them while I'm trying to explain what this is about. This is a land ruled by a murderous boy king. One of the characters is a monster, and each night he takes a new bride only to have a silk cord wrapped around her throat come morning. Oh my goodness. Okay. Another character vows vengeance and volunteers to be his next bride. Inspired by 1001 Nights, The Wrath and the Dawn is a sumptuous, enthralling read from beginning to end. Awesome. Okay, and then the next series, I found books 1 and 2, and I actually found these in different places, which is hilarious. The Smoke Thieves and The Demon World. This series is about a shrewd princess whose father is plotting against her, an idealistic soldier turned traitor, a radicalized servant on the quest to avenge his family, a streetwise demon hunter in need of money, a charming thief with no clue about his true identity. These 5 young adults' lives would never intersect were it not for the stolen bottle of demon smoke. As war approaches, they must navigate a tangled web of political intrigue, shifting alliances, and forbidden love in order to uncover the dangerous truth about the strangely powerful smoke that entwines their fates. I actually love A Forbidden Love. The next 2 books are also part of a series. I have Daughter of the Pirate Queen and Daughter of the Siren Queen. And I actually read this many years ago, but this was actually a gift from my husband. And he got the gorgeous sprayed edges edition for me. And unfortunately, I remember not really enjoying the audiobook of this. I am excited to give it another try because sometimes things are different when you read the physical book. Plus, I have the second book now, too. So even when I listened to it years ago, I was thinking, this might not be the right time for this. Honest with myself sometimes, and I would just push through books, and now I'm a lot more honest with myself about those kinds of things. And then the last one is another gift from my husband. It just arrived yesterday, and that is called I cannot say this word. I don't know what the heck this is supposed to say. The Octan Numi. OCTUNNUMI. Octan Numi. For our tomorrows are made of our yesterdays. Oh, this was inside of it? Oh, wow. Okay. So, first of all, it's big. It's beautiful with its black sprayed edges, plus all of the details on all the pages. And I'll read what it looks like the synopsis on this first page. The Octan Numi does not exist. Phosphate and any files relating to the phosphate do not exist. The Terralan peoples that protect and provide sanctuary for the Avitans and the Fethrist are not real. The abilities of the people with their heightened skills living in their utopian world are myth. Their purpose here mere tales, rumors of their reincarnations, enabling them to live many lives. Ridiculous. And there's definitely no magic. None at all. No, really, there isn't. Magic is not a thing. There are also no hidden worlds or mythical beings coexisting just out of sight. Equally, there are no secret access points to hidden worlds that don't exist, and there is no unfinished business from the past that is set to destroy, well, anything. Anyway, regardless of all potential threat that may or may not be present, this publication, The Octan Numi, and any reference to any other beings is a work of fiction. And for the record, these things, should they exist, are perfectly lovely beings whose purpose in life is grossly misunderstood. The word Octan Numi is an ongoing entity, existence, series, or whole that lasts, endures, maintains, and retains, whether as an establishment, course of action. The Octan Numi offering protection. All right, so this one is incredibly strange to even quite understand what it's supposed to be about. It tells you what it's not. But there is this inside the book, which is the pronunciations for everything. Which, holy moly. I feel like this is going to be quite... Oh my gosh. And their definitions. Definitions of words. And pronunciations. This is going to be like a challenge. I'm also incredibly intrigued. I think this is so cool. I can't say I've heard anyone talk about this book at all. I haven't, since receiving this book, because it was a complete surprise. Since receiving this book, I haven't done any research, but I think that I'm going to see if anyone on BookTube has read this book just to see what they think. Sora, look at this. It's her, baby. What are you doing? Huh?